Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our community talk with trustees. We're going to get started here in just a little bit. Just waiting for a few other people to hop online or come into the studio audience. So we'll be right back. Well, good evening, everybody, especially out there in TV land. For those of you watching online, I'm Dr. Robert Shermani. I am the superintendent of Manor ISD. Excited to be here. And I'm going to introduce a few guests on camera and off camera just so you know who is here. And then we will get started. And of course, I want to start by honoring our trustees who are here tonight. Our board president, Ms. Ana Cortez, if you want to wave at the camera. Trustee Patrick Patterson. And Trustee Dr. Caitlin Lowry. We also have, just off camera, you can't see, we have our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Moises Santiago. We have our Manor ISD Police Force Corporal. And we have our Chief of Operations, Mr. Joe Mendez. And so they're just off camera tonight. So to start off with, I'm going to just give a little bit of information about the district and talk about the purpose of this meeting and how the meeting will go. And most of this meeting is really designed to give people an opportunity to hear directly from trustees. Since most of the time when people see us on TV, we're on the dais in the boardroom, and the Open Meetings Act, the law in Texas, doesn't allow us to respond to people in that environment. We have to have a different setup in order to be able to respond to questions that people have. And so that's why we do these meetings like we do. So start off with, I just kind of went over that purpose is to try to have this one dialogue. We do 3 of these meetings in Manor ISD a year at least. This is our second one. We'll do another one in the spring. And we will do a quick overview of the district. We'll do some questions from audience members. And then we'll give some opportunities for anyone who's in person. If there's a particular staff person or board member you want to talk to, you'll get a chance to go ahead and talk with that person. So starting off with the mission and vision, I always have to start there. And of course, I always have the part that I love the most underlined, which is about helping our students become leaders in their community. And I just think that's such a powerful statement about what we do and why we exist. We're not just here to educate children. We're here to help them become leaders in the community. Some stats here from some of our people, our students rather, that are leading. You can see here, I'll read off just a few of these, but you can see a lot of the incredible things that our students are accomplishing in 24-25. But of course, we've got our students that are already accomplishing things this school year. But just a few to pick out. Of course, we've got 7 years, a Texas Art Educator Association Fine Arts District of Distinction. There's less than 1% now of districts that have accomplished that feat. We obviously have quite a few people qualifying for state recognition, whether that's in athletics or that is in academics. And then some stats for our class of 2025. These are all our high schools combined. So you can see some of the things that they've managed to accomplish, such as over $5 million in scholarships. And we have our first ever EMT graduate. We have more than that now. And that young lady, I believe, is going for med school. But now we have some students who are planning on going straight into the workforce. In fact, if you know the fire chief, he's already bugging me about getting in front of the class so he can try to start recruiting right now. And of course, we have our board of trustees. These are all 7. Some of them could not make it tonight. I already introduced you, Ms. Cortez. Dr. Mary Thomas, our vice president, is actually in Harlingen, and she is in leadership TASB getting trained. That's a great honor for her and for us. Mr. Fabian Martinez, he is at work tonight. Ms. Stacy Howard, unfortunately, had a sick child, so she couldn't make it tonight. She may be watching online. Mentioned Dr. Caitlin Lowry's here. Miss Stephanie Rodriguez Barnett is out of town. And of course, Mr. Patrick Patterson is here as well. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to turn it over to I forgot to introduce our Executive Director of Communications, Miss Maritza Gallaga. She is actually watching online, and I know Miss Gallaga, I think she's got some instructions for people trying to submit questions.
I do. So if you're watching online and you want to submit a question, please use the Q&A function that you'll find. But if that doesn't work for you, that's perfectly okay. Just send us a chat and we'll take your question, ask our Board of Trustees.
Okay. And let's see. I think, Ms. Gallaga, I think we were going to start off with one question of our own. If you wanted to start off with the first question for our trustees, and if one or more want to answer, we'll just let you choose.
We are. We're going to kick it off with our vision. And a question related to that. Our district's current vision is to be the best district in Texas where we provide an equitable education for all scholars and graduate them ready to become leaders in our community. How do you interpret equitable education?
Well, the way that, good evening, everyone out there watching, and our parent here in the audience. The way I interpret equitable education is simply providing each child what they need to reach their potential. That might be for the kids who are highly intelligent, offering gifted programs, those kids who need to learn by doing, kinesthetic operations. There are visual learners, there are auditory learners. So to provide any student an environment where they could actually perform at their very best. That's what equitable means to me.
And I just want to add is an equitable education is making sure that we meet our students where they're at and making sure that we provide or give our staff the resources needed to be able to impact and make that equitable education for all of the students. And making sure that we go to the vision and mission of making Manor ISD one of the best districts in Texas. And that's our passion and that's our goal. And I'm very proud of our board that we are very focused and united in making sure we address all the challenges to slowly but surely reach that goal. And we can't do it without the support of our community.
All right. We heard from a couple of trustees. And if you've got any questions out there in the audience, you want to wave me down, I'll come bring you the mic. Did you want to go ahead and ask one, or just wave us down when you're ready out there?
So we're going to move on to some general questions that we're hearing. And our first question is related to something that's actually pretty recent. So with the bond failing, what are the next steps?
Next step is to find out why it failed. What are some of the reasons? What are some of the perceptions to try to differentiate rumor from fact? I'm not sure we did a great job of that because for people in the know, every item of all three propositions were needs. They were need-based. There was no fluff. There was no new buildings involved. We have facilities that need attention. I mean, I heard recently that last year's maintenance was about $890,000. It's going to get worse. Every high school needs a theater. We asked for a theater in one of the propositions. And our students and our staff deserve to have up-to-date technology. Our technology has been at end of life the last couple of years. So all the propositions were need-based. There was no fluff. And the fact that we were able to bring you a bond without raising the tax rate, which is under our authority, I thought it was a no-brainer.
I think what's next, and Trustee Patterson said it, is figure out why. And I do agree that maybe we didn't, maybe we needed to do a better job on making sure we educate our community members. What really upset me, and I have to be honest, is the verbiage on the language. That was very tricky. as soon as you go to vote, it does state there is mandatory by law. It has to be put there that it is a tax property rate increase, and it is not. And so that is a huge obstacle that not just us, every school district in the state of Texas that goes out for bonds, goes out for tax rate elections, even if you're trying to lower the overall tax rate, it failed. And I think even at the legislature, I'm going to be a lot louder too. We need help. So there is a lot of components with this, but the needs are there. There's no tax rate increase. And we're just going to go back to the drawing table and see what we can do to provide those needs in the best way possible we can. And we need our community to come with us, to join us, to hear us, to understand the true facts of everything, and to help us spread that message and that voice. So those are my thoughts.
I love what my fellow trustees are saying regarding the importance of sharing factual information and educating all of our stakeholders. I think for me, on the other side of that coin, I just really want the opportunity to talk with our community, talk with our stakeholders, and really hear from everyone on what it is you need to see the next time we bring a bond out. What are you wanting to see us do to support your students, to support your community? We want to make sure that if we bring something forward, that this is something that's going to be supported by everybody who has a say in Manor ISD. And that's never just going to be the board. It's never just going to be the superintendent. It's not even just the staff or the students or the families. We want everybody involved. And so for me, although disheartened by the fact that it wasn't passed, I really see this as an opportunity to learn more about what it is you all want and expect from us and how we can provide that, whether it's information, action, education, so that we can make sure that we are bringing forth something that you fully back and fully support.
Thank you. And I'll just add that at the November 17th board meeting, that we will have some conversation about those next steps as far as how we can gather some of that information from the community. And that'll be important for everybody out there in TV land who wants to engage. But you'll also be looking out for our social media and emails when we push out that information as well. And I also want to mention, Trustee Patterson mentioned a number. The number he was mentioning is we spent $890,000 on repairing AC units last year in the district. And so that is a maintenance number. Obviously, if you have machines that you're having to repair over and over again, it would be nice to replace that. But to do that, districts are not funded to do that through their maintenance and operation. You need bond dollars really to be afforded to replace HVAC machines in scale. Okay, next question.
So before we move to our next question, just want to remind those in the audience, both here physically and on the web, that you can submit your questions either way. For those who are here, just wave your hands and we'll get your question. And for those who are watching, please use the Q&A function, or if you can't use that, totally okay too. Just use the chat function and we'll get your question answered. The next question, it does piggyback off on the last one. And it's, are there going to be cuts because the bond failed? And where would those cuts be?
Our budgets are passed on an annual basis. So this year's budget was set, and it did come in balanced. We're one of the few districts in Central Texas that brought a balanced budget to our community. So as far as that's concerned, no, but of course, when we just mentioned things like maintenance, things continue to break. We're going to have to maybe reallocate the funds that we do have, but there won't be any necessary, there won't be cuts per se.
Well, he nailed it. Like, really, we already passed a balanced budget. And I think that was, with our board, we're very focused on making sure we passed our balanced budget. For this school year, we're set. It's just what's next with all the needs that we have.
And again, on November 17th, that's a great question to ask, because we will have some information about what we have to do in reaction to a bond that doesn't pass. And the biggest thing is we can't replace things that break using bond money, so we have to be set aside money and be prepared if a major system fails. And when I say like that, is if we have a part of a roof that is no longer functioning and leaking, we're going to have to fix it. But there's got to be a revenue source, and so my team is working to figure out if we have to do it, where are we going to get those revenue sources from. And then, of course, looking further in the future, if there isn't a bond passed, eventually an AC unit will die, and we will have to replace it using some fund. And so we've got to start looking at, okay, how do we change the budget even for 26, 27 to sequester funds, I guess you could say. Think about yourself when you save money for a rainy day, for a roof going bad, or your AC unit goes bad, or your car goes bad. Well, we're going to have to make sure we have some sort of saving off to the side as well, specific to maintenance operations and things that would normally be funded out of a bond program.
For those wondering about previous bonds, we spent over 90% of that already.
Probably more than that. I'm trying to do the math in my head. It's something like 1% left, I think. Around those, about 1% of that money is left. And actually, I should point out that most of that 1% is actually not even bond money. It was interest earned on the bond money while during COVID, no one could construct anything. And so actually 100% of the funds have been expended. All that's left is the interest funds, which is not a huge amount of money for maintenance projects.
We did leave out an important part of the process of how we even came to that the bond. Each of us asked members of the community, 3 members of the community. There was a 28-member community committee that looked at the needs of the district, and that committee worked about 6 months, I believe. And the information on the bond is the information that they brought forward. Again, total need-based, not fluff. So perhaps we need to try to broaden that part of the process to get more voices. But again, we've been very conservative in our approach to public dollars, and we're going to continue to do that in a hostile environment. We believe state government is hostile towards public education right now. And the fact of the matter is, for school districts, every budget is about 85, 86% people. So we're going to continue to bring balanced budgets to you, and because we believe that's the most responsible thing to do with your dollars. So please go to our websites, talk to us, get factual information about what's going on in the district.
All right. Another question?
Our next question, still on the same subject, but a little bit different, specifically talking about the tax rate. So what about the tax rate now that the bonds failed? Is it going to be lowered, or where do we stand on that?
It's still the same. You know, whether it passed or not, the tax rate remained the same.
Yeah, we're required by law to set the tax rate in by the end of August, and so the tax rate for 2026 is already set.
Yeah, the beauty of the tax rate and the way that we designed everything is that we wanted that to be something that was consistent and stable. There was this possibility of being able to create a bond and a plan for how to utilize that bond money in a way that wasn't requiring us to raise the tax rate. And so if we could get away with it without raising the tax rate, then we're not going to. We want to do everything that we can to keep things smooth sailing for our community as well as for our students and staff. The fact that the bond didn't pass, it simply means that the tax rate continues to remain the same. Whether it passed or not was not going to change the tax rate. So it's going to be what it is going to be. But that being said, it's just one more opportunity for us to be able to share more about how we're trying to do responsible spending that is not at the expense of our community whenever possible.
And also, I want people to understand there's a difference between the tax rate and your taxes. Your taxes are based on your property values, and gladly, our community is growing with a lot of commerce, especially on 290. So our property values are going to go up. So that would be the only reason your taxes go up. But we as a board, we don't have authority over your taxes. We have authority over the tax rate, and we're going to try to keep that the same as long as we can.
Okay. And we'll take questions, and also we have a few more audience members who came in. Remember, if you've got, we're kind of in the Q&A portion with our trustees, so if you have a question that you want to ask, just kind of flag me down. We will have an opportunity at the end for the in-person people to interact with district staff and trustees in a one-on-one, one-on-two kind of setting here at the end. But we are live on TV, which is why we're kind of focused this way. Another question? Yes, ma'am. And I realize a flaw in my plan. I'm going to have to run the mic to you. I'm going off TV.
Okay, my question is, how much of this information was presented to the public beforehand? Because right now you're giving a lot of information about tax rates and the group that y'all went to and got information from. How much of this was transparent before voting? How much was presented to the public and the citizens beforehand so that we could have made a more knowledgeable decision whether to pass or not pass this? Because right now it seems like, oh, there's a lot of information given, but I can say prior to, I haven't heard anything.
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
And Dr. Sarmani, do you know the whole process? But we did.
Sure.
Yes.
I'll just detail the process, and I would love for Maritza and I to talk to you afterwards of this. The process started with a facilities assessment in the fall of 2024, moved into the community citizens group who evaluated that information and created a potential bond package. Was presented to the school board in June of 2025. Board voted on it in early August to proceed. Once that vote took place, we then began the process of pushing that information out. We held 21 meetings with the public and with staff. At least one of those was virtual. Along with social media and some of the other things that we push out there. And I say all that to say that it's pretty obvious that we miss some people somehow. And that's the reason I would love to talk with you a little bit so we can understand how that information is flowing and how does it not get in the hands of as many people as we would like. Certainly that's part of this listening process we're going to go through, and we're going to talk about on Monday's board meeting about how do we find out from people who didn't get the message, what happened, or where did that not get through. I will tell you one thing that we struggle, and when I say we, I don't mean necessarily Manor ISD, I mean school districts in general. You know, the way social media algorithms work is they show you information that the social media companies think you want to see. And so based on everybody's individual choices in the community, they end up seeing certain information and not other information. And I say that because one of the challenges we have is how do we reach someone who doesn't have a child in the school system and so isn't paying attention to what's going on in the school system, but they are a taxpayer, they are a voter, and we do care about what their thoughts are. So that's kind of what we've done, but we've been looking for people just like you because we want to know. So we'll come back to you after the meeting. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, and in addition to that, I know I think there was more than one virtual board meeting, but I know that there was town halls throughout the district, and I'm also curious to see, how we failed to reach people like you, but it was months of collaboration, committee work, 28 committee members. They put a package together. There was videos, like fun facts, like shared throughout all platforms of the district. We shared it ourselves. We did videos too. So we're trying to figure out where we're trying to figure out where we could have done better, what we missed. And also, we said it earlier, what didn't help is the ballot language at the very top. And that's what every public education district has an obstacle that we have to overcome because it's mandatory by law. That doesn't mean it's factual. But the state legislator tells us in bold, that's the first thing you see, and that it's a property tax rate increase. With the political climate that we're in, federal, state, the first thing you see, this is going to be a tax rate increase. People are not happy, and they're going to vote, oh, I don't want my property taxes to increase. But the fact of the matter is there was no property tax rate increase, and that is going to be tough to try to educate people. By law, we have to put that.
I also just wanted to mention, because it's something that I thought was really well designed by our school district, there's a website about the bond. It includes everything about the 2025 bond. It also includes the historical information about the 2019 bond. Our executive director of communications and her team did a fantastic job putting that together, along with a list of frequently asked questions that you can check out. Even if obviously we've already voted, it's already been decided, but that information is still important for people to know, and it's still there for people to learn if they want to learn more. So in addition to, I'm sure the whole world's going to be talking to you after this, but also that is a fantastic resource, and maybe even if Maritza can include that in the online version so people can click that link, I think it's a really awesome resource to peruse.
Oh, and I want to add one more thing is even at our live board meetings, you would find information there too. We air our live board meetings. It shows about the finances. It talks about how much interest we already saved in paying off old debt. It talks about how we balanced our budget. It was put out to make sure we were financially stable to be able to ask the approval of the community. So in addition to everything what the district did, our board meetings were live streamed, and the agenda would talk about finances, about bonds, updates on bonds. So there was just different ways that we were able to get that information.
But from my viewpoint, what the public wants in a school system, and I'm talking about people who don't have kids in Manor ISD, what the public looks at are accountability scores. If I'm going to keep it real, and our accountability score is a D, and I just want the public to know that we're very serious about our academic achievement, and we are focused on it, and we're expecting gains. Simple as that. So when the public sees that our accountability becomes more satiable, hopefully you'll be able to support us in that regard as too. Because I do want us to become East Lake. I'm serious about that. The Westlake community loves their high school, supports their high school. They're a high-performing district. We have our lake here on the east side. I want us to become East Lake. I want high-performing schools as well. I want the community proud of our school system. And right now, the bond showed us that's not the case, and we're paying attention.
He talked about academics, and I have to, have to chime in here. I just also don't want our educators to not feel they're, yes, this is a letter grade, and we know how it translates with the community, but I feel very proud of he talked about focus. Part of our platform in governing is making sure that the board focuses more than 50% of our meetings towards student outcomes. And we've done that in a very, efficient, effective, and productive way. it shows even on how long our meetings are. But I also want to give, despite of the letter grade and the continuing changing of the measurement of the test and everything, our educators, if you look at some of our meetings too, when we present the goals that we have in academics, a lot of our schools did, make improvements. We didn't, most of our schools, if not all, made academic improvements. It's just, it's where we are right now. So I do want to, for our educators, everybody out there, you are truly appreciated. We see your work, we've seen it, and we support you 100%. And I know with the continued support and the focus of the board, we will be better. We will become better.
All right, thank you for all that. And November 17th, we actually have another one of those academic reports. If you want to tune in to hear about college, career, and military readiness, we report to the trustees 3 times a year on that. And that is a sign of pride and or a point of pride for us because that number is going up. Other questions? Studio audience or is this the studio audience? This is the studio audience. That's the, gotcha.
So if no one from the studio audience has questions, I have another one that's completely shifting gears. The next one is, what are you going to do about classroom sizes?
Well, I can start off with that then. No, classroom sizes are something. In fact, I was, if she's watching, and maybe she was the ask one, I was actually just talking to a teacher about that not only 2-3 hours ago, actually. Nobody wants big classroom sizes. Let's just start with that. You want to reduce the workload on teachers and increase the individualized attention on students. The issue we face and all districts face is how much money do we have to spend to reduce that size of those classes versus everything else that we have to spend money on. So I'm going to tell you the same thing I told the teacher. What we did is we balanced a budget. I in no way believe that we necessarily balanced it exactly the way we wanted to be. So now, especially coming here in the spring, we're going to begin to engage in a process about talking with the community and our staff about what do we value most. And so when we have that conversation, we are going to be shifting money from one priority to another priority. For example, and I in no way want to make this a false zero-sum game, but Trustee Patterson a moment ago mentioned that 85% of our budget, and not just all district budgets, are people. That's payroll. Every single time you increase compensation, you dramatically increase the budget. Every time you hire people, you dramatically increase your budget. The money has to come from somewhere. It is not coming from the state. And so in order to remain financially solvent and balanced, we're going to have to make choices about what we do. If we're going to increase compensation, I'm all for it. What are we going to take out of the budget in order to do that? If we're going to lower class sizes by hiring more people, I'm all for it. What are we going to take away that we're not going to spend money on in order to be able to do that? Now, the good news is there are some efficiencies still left that we're working through that we couldn't implement right away that we plan on implementing. In fact, over the next 2 board meetings, we'll be talking a few of those, but there are some things that we're going to need to talk about that might be a little bit more painful. But if this is what we prioritize classroom sizes, that's great. But it is going to have to come from somewhere, and that is the reality of what we're living in. And I can't not say this. One of the reasons to have a bond is to reduce some costs, like the $890,000 we spent last year on repairing HVACs. That money comes out of our maintenance and operation budget. That is the same budget I use to pay salaries and pay people. If you replace an HVAC machine, you can pay it out of bond money. You can't use bond money to pay people. You can only use it for capital projects. So one of the things about a bond, if we ever do have a future bond project, well, we'll have a future bond. There's no really way around it. It's just a question of when and what's in it, because we can't afford to do these major repairs without bond money. But one of the things to remember is bond money frees up money to pay for people. And I have to be careful about saying that when the bond election's on. There's all kinds of rules from the Attorney General about what superintendents are allowed to say. And just one note on that, a lot of people ask me, well, why didn't you say some of these things 3 weeks ago? Because it was illegal for me to do so. The Attorney General would have sent me a letter and said, you're illegally electioneering. So whenever a bond is out there or any election in a school district, if I suddenly change what I'm saying, it's because the Attorney General says I have to. And I don't get much of a choice on that matter. So that's the answer. Stay tuned. Looking for those efficiencies and then looking for opportunities to give input on what the priorities of the district are.
And we have a great university in the center of this city. And I'm a firm believer in research. So whoever's interested in research on classroom size, maybe that's something we might coordinate with the College of Education at the University of Texas to research the effect of classroom size, or what is the most what marker is the most prominent in determining academic achievement.
Also, I know that board meetings aren't necessarily the funnest way to spend a Monday night. And I know that they use a lot of jargon and a lot of different rules, and it can feel drawn out. I do want to point out, for the last 2 board meetings, Dr. Sormani has brought us a number of full-time employees to add positions to our district. Every time they find funding, they are coming back to us saying, we can add another person here. We can add another person to this campus. So I don't want anyone to think that this is something that we're just going to wait for. Our district is constantly, very actively looking at ways to live lean so that your students can learn more. And they're doing a fantastic job of it.
The question was, what was the bond at 5842? She's asking if a prior bond has been rejected. As far as I know, in Manor ISD, no. The last time was 2019, and time for that 2014.
2016 and 2014.
2016 and
And I
2014.
think prior to that was 2008.
So yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but as far as we know in the history of Manor ISD, no, a bond has not been rejected.
But as you know, laws have changed on what is mandated to be put on the ballot. Those are recent laws.
Other questions? Yep. Here, I'll run out the mic. It's easier for the TV people to hear.
Okay, so now my question is in regards to teacher certifications, because I'm currently a parent of a school who basically has a lot of long-term subs while I guess teachers are getting their certifications or they are hiring certified teachers. So my question is, how long will these long-term subs be in place at the schools? If you can even answer that, if that's a must-know. And then the second is, because y'all do send out something stating that certain teachers are not certified, and I think I received like 3 of them and only have 1 kid there at the school. So my question is what does it look like pertaining to teacher certifications, and how long will the long-term subs be in the schools?
Thank you. And of course, I can't speak to your specific, but our Dr. Williams Hill is in the audience, and she'd be a good person to talk to specifically about that. I can tell you just a couple of things. Long-term subs is contextual about how long they're in the room. I can't tell you. It depends on the purpose or the reason they're there in the first place. If they're in a holding place, for example, a teacher's on leave for medical reasons, well, there's a finite time where that person will switch out. If it is, like Dr. Lowry said, we issued a new allocation to a campus because enrollment is rising, then it's going to take to whenever the principal finds a qualified candidate to take that person's spot. The one fact I can tell you off the top of my head is we have one of the smaller number, percentage-wise, of uncertified teachers in our classrooms in the area, if not in the entire state. And that was by design. When we started addressing our budget issues, one of the things that we did was we notified teachers, if you're not making progress on your certification, you were going to be the first ones that we were going to go ahead and invite not to return. And so the persons who chose not to pursue their certification, they did not return. We did have a number of people who really wanted to be here and they worked hard, and so they're working towards or have gotten their certification. So I am proud that our percentage is much lower than others. Now, I'd love it to be zero. No, I can't guarantee that. But certainly in a specific situation, Dr. Williams Hill would be the person to speak with. More questions, either way? Sure.
Thanks. So one of the things I didn't realize, but I learned have a second grader in Manor ISD Academy, and I learned at a meeting we had there that just because somebody's not a certified teacher doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have a degree or that they're not qualified. It just means that they haven't met that training criteria of that exam. So that brought me some comfort in that case.
So I'm a board member now, but I have 15 years of experience in the classroom as a teacher. I personally hold 8 active teaching certificates in the state of Texas. And I will tell you that it took me years to get certified, not because I didn't have the knowledge, but because it costs hundreds of dollars out of my personal pocket to take the test and then to pay for the certification. It is a tenuous process. If it is an elementary teacher and they're taking the core subject exam and they pass all 3 except social studies, they don't get it. So there are a lot of details in regards to the certification process that can be difficult to explain. But I do appreciate that people are mentioning it doesn't mean they don't have a degree, or it doesn't mean that they're not qualified, that there may be extenuating circumstances. But that being said, I do think that's a great thing to go and speak with your principal about, or go and speak to Dr. Williams Hill about, because your child's education is important, and it is important that we've got people teaching them that are going to give them the skills and the knowledge they need. So by all means, keep asking the questions and feel free to reach out to the people who are going to have the answers.
And one good note, if these are one of your teachers, we actually have 4 Texas State residents who technically aren't certified, but they have to graduate first, and then they already have their certs, and they will move straight into the classroom. So we just signed them to contracts Monday. So we're excited about that. Okay. We are down to about 4 or 5 minutes left. So we got other questions in the audience. And at the end of this, just a reminder, if you came in late, we'll have opportunity for the in-person people to talk with whomever you like to in the room as well.
So I know that we're talking a lot about LSG tonight, so I want to pose an LSG specific question. And it's, how has the Lone Star governance model changed the way that you work as a board?
And I might start this off while you get the mic on. Lone Star Governance is a training for school boards and superintendents that the state of Texas puts on. And it's meant to help the team of 8, as we call ourselves, learn the best practices to support the district and support the children in the district. And so I'll let the trustees speak for themselves about it.
Yeah, 3 of us on the board are first-year trustees. So personally for me, it was very beneficial. Since we're talking qualifications, this is my 47th year in education. 30 years pre-K-12. I was a 10-year teacher, a 20-year principal, and I've been at the University of Texas. This is my 16th year in the college education. So when we ran as a cohort of educators. So we're very serious of creating environments that are best for your children, especially academically. Lone Star Governance, for me, put a framework in place for us to stay within parameters of professionalism in terms of our communication with each other and outside of the board. And for me, it's been very beneficial. And there's been talk out there about Lone Star governance that's been negative because, and again, it's all political, and I'm gonna try to keep it as real as I can with you all, but there are people out there saying that Lone Star governance, and the districts that are utilizing it have lower student achievement than the districts that are not using it. Well, the reason school districts are using Lone Star governance is because they were having issues in the first place. So it's an inappropriate comparison. In terms of being brand new to a system, well, I'm not brand new anymore. 1 year anniversary the other day, but it really provided a framework for us to work together with the superintendent and to work with each other and to keep us on the path. In fact, the school district did have a TEA monitoring the board for dysfunction, basically, for about 6 years, I believe. And after about 6 or 7 months of observing our work, decided that the monitorship wasn't necessary anymore. So we're very proud of our work and very serious for you all.
Oh, thank you. I think it's interesting to talk about the benefits of this this program when the truth is that if you're not on a board or directly involved in a board, then you probably have no idea what this is. And so that's what I think is the most important part. Lone Star governance really pushes the focus for all adults involved in the school district to focus on putting students first, students' education, student success. A big part of that, of course, is partnership. A single board can't do anything if the community doesn't support the board, if the community's not feeling like they're empowered to be a part of the solution. And Lone Star governance is big about really pushing not only the school board, but also the district leadership and the community as a whole to really grow together, to find ways to connect, to work together with one another, and to really listen. It gives a voice to all of the stakeholders in our community so that that way everything that we do is being done as one. It's being done as a reflection of what we are hearing from you. And Lone Star governance is a really strong way of holding us accountable to that, holding us accountable to our stakeholders, holding us accountable to our students, and really making sure that this never becomes a spotlight for us, but always shines a light where it belongs, which is on the incredible things that our scholars are doing. So if it's not something you know about right now, then it is something we have information for on our website. Yeah, just check in. So you're welcome to look there. You can also email us. I promise we receive the emails, we read them, we discuss them. We have a lot of conversations inside and outside of board meetings because it takes a lot to do the work that we do. And we do it because we love this school district, but we also know that when you speak up, you are also showing your love for the school district. No matter what kind of message you're giving to us, it's an opportunity for us to listen, learn, and act. And we want to make sure that everybody's involved in that process.
I love my new board members. They're both 1 year anniversary, and I'm just so proud of the board that we have. But going back to Lone Star governance, I mean, I have to correct Mr. Patterson here a little bit. It wasn't 6 months. It was probably less than 6 months when you guys got in. Yes, yeah, it was a lot less. As soon as we had our first meetings, yeah, we were able to immediately be released by TEA Monitor. It's just back that focus, and I want to say how we start the Lone Star governance. That way, it prepares us. One of the first things when you start as a Lone Star governance training team, the first thing they tell you, and we get ingrained and start the conversation, is student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. So just the initial process was really tearing down every layer of us personally to make sure that our decisions are focused on students, and to make sure that it's not about my personal feelings, my personal opinions, but student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. We learn how to respect each other, how to respect each other's opinions, how to work together, and how to move forward when there's different, disagreements. But we are a team of 8. And this is the focus that we have had, the focus in a short period of time where we balanced our budget, where we, the TA monitor exited Manor ISD immediately. And so I've been on the board for a while. I'm not an educator. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been a business owner all my life. I'm more into numbers, but my whole family, except me, are educators. But on a different level, I educate a lot of business owners, so I consider myself the same. Similar, but just working with this board and superintendent, it to me, being a tenured board member, I pride myself on my board. There's so many challenges in public education. Every direction we turn to try to find a solution, it's always a battle with the state, with the federal. It's just working together to find these solutions is through Lone Star Governance has created a really nice streamlined process, communication wise, trust, every way, where we are completely prepared maybe a week or 2 weeks before our board meetings, that we're prepared to focus just on student outcomes. The rest of the agenda items we've already cleared, question answered, everything, but across the board equally. So I can't express the gratitude of such an amazing board that I have, and how we moved along despite of these critical times in public education.
Okay. And with that, I do want to leave some time for the in-person people, as promised, to interact with some folks. So I'm going to say goodbye to TV Land over here. And while TV Land is leaving the show, don't forget we'll have some information on our website that Ms. Gallaga will have up. Just a reminder, those persons on the in-person, we have a few people in the audience that I want you to wave your hand. Mr. Santiago, our Chief Financial Officer, is here. If you want to talk finances all day long, he will do so. We have Corporal Woodridge from our Manor ISD Police Department, if you're interested in safety and security or what our police department is doing. We have Chief Joe Mendez, Facilities and Operations, Transportation and Food Services, all under him. And we have our Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Williams Hill. She can talk about some of the instruction, and she can talk about HR if you have some questions there. Our trustees will be here. I'll be kind of around this area also. You are welcome to come up and talk to anybody you like. The only thing you can't do is ask trustees to vote on something, because that would be illegal, so none of that. All right. Thank you all, and I appreciate you being here.